All right, let's dive into something that's, well, it's a total revolution in how we manage projects. So forget everything you thought you knew about those old, dusty rule books. We're about to explore a huge paradigm shift that is literally changing project management as we know it. So, what's the big deal? Well, at its heart, the change is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly profound. We've gone from a time that was all about rigid step-by-step processes, like the old PMBOK 6th edition, to a brand new world that's focused on flexible frameworks that deliver value. That's the core of the 7th edition. It's way less about just ticking off boxes and a whole lot more about delivering what actually matters. And that really is the big question, isn't it? This isn't just some academic theory. Nope, this has real practical consequences for how you, whether you're a project manager or part of the team, tackle your work every single day. So let's break down what this whole rulebook to toolbox thing is all about. First things first, to really get why the new way is so great, we've got to look back and understand what was wrong with the old one. We'll call it the rulebook approach, and believe me, it had some serious limitations. This quote just nails the old way of thinking. Seriously, the project plan was treated like this sacred, unchangeable set of instructions. Your job, just execute it. Perfectly. Success was all about how well you stuck to that plan, even if the final result wasn't, all that valuable. And, this rulebook way of thinking, it created some serious headaches. It was way too prescriptive, which meant it pretty much killed any chance for creativity or adapting when things inevitably went off script. The focus was always on the process, not the outcome. And in today's world of fast-paced, complex projects, that one-size-fits-all approach just couldn't hang. Okay, so enough about the old problems. Let's talk about the solution, which is a much, much better way to move forward. The idea is simple. We're throwing out that rigid rulebook and picking up a toolbox instead. And this toolbox, it's a framework that's built from the ground up to be flexible. So what is this toolbox? Well, you can think of it as this amazing, customizable set of tools. Specifically, they're called models, methods, and artifacts. And the key word here, the most important word, is tailor. You're not being handed one single path to follow anymore. Instead, you're getting a whole bunch of powerful tools and the freedom to pick the right ones for your project's specific needs. And this is so, so important. The entire point has shifted. We've moved on from just trying to follow a process correctly. The new singular focus is on delivering real, tangible value to your company and your stakeholders. That's it. Okay, so let's pop the lid on this toolbox and see what we've actually got to work with. These tools fall into 3 main categories: models, methods, and artifacts. First up, you've got models. Now, don't let the words scare you. A model is basically just a thinking strategy, a framework to help you organize your thoughts and your approach. A perfect example? A RACI matrix. It's not a list of steps, it's a model for thinking through who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed on your team. Super useful. Next up, methods. These are the get your hands dirty techniques you use to actually move the work forward. A classic example that you probably know is Kanban. It's a method for seeing your workflow, for managing how much work is happening at once, and for keeping things flowing smoothly. And finally, we have artifacts. These are the things you create. The tangible stuff, like templates, documents, or outputs. A project backlog is a fantastic example. It's a real, concrete artifact you use to capture and prioritize all the work that needs to get done. So what does this all mean for you? Well, the real power here is freedom. With all these different tools, you, the project manager, get to be more like a master craftsperson. You look at the job, you analyze the situation, and then you reach into your toolbox and pull out the exact right model, method, and artifact for that specific task. And here's a perfect example of that freedom in action. Let's talk about managing scope. In the old rulebook world, you might have been forced to use a work breakdown structure, or WBS. Now, a WBS is a great tool, but only if your scope is totally locked down from the beginning. With the toolbox approach, if you're on a project where you know the scope is going to change, you can choose a backlog instead. See? 2 different tools for 2 different situations, both aiming for the same goal. Great scope management. So let's pull all these threads together. Why does any of this really matter? Because it completely changes what it means to be a project manager. You're no longer just a process follower. You're now a strategic value creator. This is it.
This is the big one. If you only take away one single thing today, let it be this. Your number one job, your absolute North Star in this new world, is the successful delivery of value. Period. It's not about the process you used or the artifact you created. It's about the outcome. Every single tool you pick, every decision you make has to serve that one goal.
So, let's do a quick recap. The age of the rigid, one-size-fits-all rulebook? It's over. The future is all about embracing this flexible toolbox filled with models, methods, and artifacts. Your new role is to become an expert at picking and tailoring these tools to fit each project perfectly. And above all else, remember your main mission: deliver value. And that brings us to one last question. One for you to think about as you head back to your own work. Take a look at your current projects and ask yourself, what tools are actually in my toolbox right now? Am I just using the same old hammer for every problem, or am I thoughtfully choosing the right tools to deliver real, meaningful value?